Hi, I'm Rob and this is Gems of War. In this video I'm showing my top 10 common troops of 2021. Now, just to make it clear, this is my top 10. This is my own personal choice. I haven't scoured the internet or haven't looked at what other people think or other opinions. This is literally my own choice based on my play style. So other people who play the game slightly differently may make different choices. That's completely fine. But this is my top 10. And we're going to start with a couple that just didn't quite make it. And the first one being Dragon Eggs. Now Dragon Eggs is good. It has a summon, which is handy and is fairly resilient, being immune to burning and fairy fire, and has a 25% chance to summon a baby dragon on death, which is really cool. But the reason it didn't make it is because it's not that great on its own. You kind of really need another troop to make it work well, like Egg Thief. Egg Thief is good because it summons these, and that gives your enemy two things to think about, or if it's on the other side, it gives you two things to think about. You've got to try and get rid of this to stop it from hatching a baby dragon, and you have to try and stop Egg Thief from spawning another one of these. It's like, makes it awkward for the opponent. So it is good, but only with another troop. It's not that great on its own, which is one of the reasons it didn't quite make my top 10. The second one that didn't quite make it begins with O. Can play a mini game here. You can try and guess what it is before I have found it, and it is Orion's Herald. Now, any common troop that can summon a legendary troop, which is Orion, has got to be good, but that 16 mana cost is quite high, and that makes it quite tricky to fit effectively into certain teams. The traits aren't anything special either, so how did it fit in? It's like you need to have someone almost sacrifice themselves in first place. Maybe a Firebomb that explodes, something like that, gets some mana for him, which then he charges up and summons Orion into that slot. Can work, but it's a lot of effort for what is not that great, but not bad for a common, but for that reason it doesn't quite make my top 10. Now onto the top 10 themselves, and the first one begins with an R. Only a few choices there, and it is Rockworm. I love Rockworm because I remember this as an early player. It was a really cool troop to use and really annoying to fight against, because he uses only 8 brown to get charged up and then generates brown himself, which means he can create extra turns for himself again and again and again. And that is what was happening a lot of the time. You get 2 or 3 of these guys in the same team with something like a deep borer, and it's annoying because these worms can just get extra turn after extra turn, keep chipping away at the enemy in last place by that spell damage, and they can be an irritant. And I do remember some players complaining about this on the internet, saying it needs to be nerfed and stuff like that, and it's a common, so any common that people thought needed to be nerfed can't be bad. So 10th place for Rockworm. 9th place starts with S. Quite a few choices in S. What do you think? Well, it's Skeleton. The reason I love Skeleton is because skull-based teams are getting really, really popular now. It's a quick way of winning games if the skulls work out in your favour, but the danger is, on certain troops, even mythic troops like Wild Queen, it can't always work out. Like Wild Queen, for example, casts a spell and she generates a load of skulls and green, but it's in the lap of the gods whether it works or not, and she doesn't have an extra turn. You only get an extra turn if you get a 4 match somewhere. But if you don't, you can set the opponent up in an absolutely massive way. With this guy, it's really handy. Create 7 skulls, you gain a bunch of armor, and most importantly, you gain that extra turn. So if those skulls don't match up, you can either make them match up with that extra turn, or at least move the board in your favour so you're not setting up the opponent for a really bad counter attack. As well as that, you're immune to poison, disease, lycanthropy, and death mark, which is really, really handy. Like death mark is something which you can get and then just die so quickly from in this game if you're unlucky. So to being immune to that because he's undead is super handy. So Skeleton, very, very worthy of 9th place, I think. Now in 8th place we've got somebody beginning with F. What do we think? F. A few Fs. It's Firebomb. Now Firebomb may be a surprise to some people but he's here for two reasons. First of all is not to do with the way you play him yourself. A lot of people have seen those defence teams where you get 4 of these, and people think it's a little bit pointless. But the point of having 4 of these in a defence team is because it gives the opposition a really easy win. They get the revenge battle from that, which means they get extra benefits and extra glory, things like that. And they may give you honours for that. Now that's really handy because honours, you don't get given them that often ordinarily. So set up a defence with 4 of these and you may get extra honours which you would not have been given ordinarily. And that is one of the reasons why he's here. The other reason he's here is because he can be useful in certain teams. Like, stick him in first place, blow him up straight away. If you've got somebody else that uses only a small amount of mana for their spell, that can charge them up instantly, as well as do damage to the opposing team. And if you've got someone on your team that has a summon, you can put someone else in their place straight away, and that can work out really well. So for that reason, or those reasons, the Firebomb is in 8th place. 7th place, we have somebody beginning with D. Another D. Who's it going to be starting with D? It's Defiance, one of the new Guardians. Now, these new Guardians are a bit of a game changer because they're all very similar and they all attack a different colour with the same kind of spell. This one, for example, deals, in my case, 41 damage to an enemy and a random enemy, boosted by enraged allies. And if the enemy uses brown, you deal double damage. And as well as that, you deal double skull damage versus brown enemies, as well as get 50% skull reduction and give 4 to all skills on Urska allies when matching 4 or more gems. So that is really good. A lot of these troops are going to work really well on Brown Day, in Guild Wars, maybe even on Defence. I may even try something this week where I'll use one of these new Guardians on each colour of the day, set up with their strengths in mind, and see how that works in Defence. So there he is, Defiance, and he's my number 7. 6 begins with the letter T, and it is going to be Treachery, another one of the new Guardians. Now this one's a little bit different. It does the same kind of damage to an enemy and a random enemy, but boosted by poisoned enemies. So with that boost ratio of ×5, you get somebody that creates a lot of poison on the enemy, and that can stack up a little bit. It's not as good as the other Guardians that are ahead of it, but it is good, and it has the same skills as Defiance, where you deal double skull damage, but versus blue this time, you get a 50% skull reduction again, and this time 4 skills on all Naga allies when matching 4 or more gems. So I will be showing teams in the future with these Guardians and how to get the most out of them in certain teams, because a lot of them you get more benefit when they're stacked up with multiple ones of these in the same team, because that gift of Treachery, for example on this one, if you had 2 of these in the same team, you would give 8 to all skills on all Naga allies when matching 4 or more gems. So there it is. There's Treachery in the 6th position. Now in the top 5, and 5th one begins with C. And it is, you've probably guessed already, Cunning. Similar to the other Guardians, this deals damage to an enemy and a random enemy, but this time boosted by each enemy's life. So this is handy because the more powerful the opponent, the more damage you actually do to them. Their power ends up working against them. And if they use purple, it deals double damage. Same skills as the other ones, deal skull damage, double skull damage versus purple enemies, reduce damage from skulls by 50%, and give 4 on all skills on all Rushka allies when matching 4 or more gems. So yep, decent, very good, and powerful in the right team, and I'll be showing those teams in different videos. So Cunning is in 5th place. 4th place begins with P. You're probably starting to guess now because there's a bit of a theme running on the last few. And it is Persistence. Now this is really cool. I love this Guardian. It does the same damage to an enemy and a random enemy, and double damage if they use green, but a 25% chance to devour a random enemy. That is extremely cool. And then you've still got the same traits, the deal double skull damage versus green enemies and reduce damage by half, and give 4 to all skills on all Wargate allies when matching 4 or more gems. So he's really powerful. That 25% chance to devour enemies makes people worried. When anybody's got a chance of a devour and this gets to cast, you're just on tenterhooks just for a few seconds just to see if that works out or not. So there he is. Now the next one, in third place, we're in the top 3 now. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Let's redo that quickly. Third place starts with T. And it is Thrall. Now, this guy is so handy. As a super quick mana generator, he's almost got no equal. He's in some of the most powerful teams you can fight against. Many Zul'Goth teams have Thrall in there and cast him straight away, and he gets Zul'Goth charged up super fast. So any troop that is a part of a Zul'Goth team, which is super powerful, cannot be ignored. He's really good, and he fits into other teams as well because he creates mana so quick. He's only 6 to cast and gets bonus purple too. So he's super cool. A really early troop in the game, really easy to get, and absolutely deserving of that third position. So now in the top 2, now you're probably starting to guess what they are now. This one starts with F, but which F? There's 2 that start with F, and they're both absolutely awesome. Now it's going to be Ferocity in second place. The last 2 of the Guardians, Ferocity is super dangerous because it deals slightly less damage than the other ones, but this time it's boosted by his life, attack and armor combined, and if the enemy uses red mana, deals double damage. The same traits as the other ones, deal double skull damage versus red, half damage from skulls, and give 4 to all skills on all Tauros allies this time when matching 4 or more gems. So you get a couple of these in the same team, and you'll be giving 8 to all skills on all Tauros allies when matching 4 or more gems, which combined with that spell, which is that damage boosted by life, attack and armor, that can scale super quickly, and you can easily one-shot opponents with this troop. He's really good, super dangerous on Guild Wars Red Day. I often fight against these. I see these on the other side sometimes on Red Day, and you have to concentrate so hard on making sure you don't give them any skull matches, because that can just absolutely rip you apart in a hurry. So, number 1, and there's an obvious choice really. It begins with F again, and it has to be Finesse. Finesse, another Guardian, but they are that good. They have to be in the top 10, they really do. Again, deals damage to an enemy and a random enemy, and double if they use, this time, yellow. The cool thing about Finesse is, if there's a storm, you give 6 mana to all other allies. So you get a couple of these in the same team, and again, with the same traits as the other Guardians, with that gift of Finesse at the bottom, give 4 to all skills on all Strix allies when matching 4 or more gems. With a couple of these guys in the same team, that scales. 2 of these would give 8 to all skills then, and you're giving mana to the other Strix allies, because you can just pick a class which gets a storm going every single time, and these are super dangerous, and I've used these on Yellow Day and obliterated the opponent in Guild Wars. In fact, I think I overcharged them massively because it's too easy to get carried away with this, seeing how powerful you can get them. But yeah, there he is, Finesse, my number 1 common troop in 2021 in Gems of War. I will be creating different teams with these in the future to show a good way to use them all. So if there's something you fancy seeing, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss anything. And thanks for watching. Till next time, bye for now.